Wisdom of Sirach, chapter 11. The wisdom of a humble man will exalt his head, and he will take his seat among the great. Do not praise a man for his good looks, and do not detest one because of his appearance. The bee is small among winged creatures, but her fruit is first among sweet things. Do not boast about your fine clothes, nor magnify yourself in the day you are honored, because the works of the Lord are wondrous, and his works are hidden from men. Many tyrants have sat on the ground, but one never thought of has worn a crown. Many rulers have suffered exceeding disgrace, and honored men and have been betrayed into the hands of others. Do not find fault before you examine a situation. First, understand it, and then make your judgment. Do not answer before you have listened, and do not interrupt someone while he is talking. Do not argue about a matter that does not concern you, and do not sit together with sinners when they judge a case. My son, do not let your business involve too many things. If you multiply them, you will not remain unpunished, and if you pursue them, you will not overtake them, and you will not escape by running away. There is a man who works and keeps on working, but is in much more poverty. There is another who is sluggish and in need of help, and he lacks strength and abounds in poverty. But the eyes of the Lord look upon him for his good, and restores his well-being from his humble state. He raises up his head, and many are amazed at this. Good and bad, life and death, poverty and wealth, these are from the Lord. The gift of the Lord remains with the godly, and his approval brings prosperity forever. There is a man who grows rich because of his attention and restraint, and this is the portion of his reward. When he says, I have found rest, and now I will partake of my good things, yet he does not know how much time will pass until he will die, and leave them behind to others. Stand by your covenant and attend to it, and grow old in your work. Do not be amazed at the works of a sinner, but trust in the Lord and remain at your work, because it is easy in the sight of the Lord to make a poor man rich quickly and unexpectedly. The blessing of the Lord is in the reward of a godly man, and in an instant he makes his blessings flourish. Do not say, what do I need, and what good things will be mine in the future? Do not say, I am independent. From now on, what will harm me? In the day of good things, there is forgetfulness of bad things, and in the day of bad things, there is no remembrance of good things. For it is easy in the judgment of the Lord to reward a man on the day of his death according to his ways. The ill treatment of an hour makes one forget luxury, and at the end of a man's life, there shall be a revelation of his works. Consider no man happy before his death, and a man will be known in his children. Do not bring every man into your home, for the plots of the deceitful are many. The heart of an arrogant man is like a cage. The heart of an arrogant man is like a decoy partridge in a cage, and like a spy he watches for your fall. For he lies in wait and turns good into evil, and he will attach blame to the good one chooses. From a spark of fire, a charcoal fire is kindled, and a sinful man lies in wait for bloodshed. Beware of an evildoer and his schemes, lest he bring lasting blame upon you. Receive a stranger into your home, and he will upset you with troubles, and alienate you from your family. Wisdom of Sirach, chapter 12. If you show kindness, know to whom you show it, and you shall be thanked for your good deeds. Do good to a godly man, and you will be repaid, if not by him, then certainly by the Most High. There shall be no good things for him who continues in evil things, or for him who does not give alms cheerfully. Give to a godly man, but do not help the sinner. Do good to a humble man, but do not give to an ungodly man. Hold back his bread and do not give it to him, lest by it he lord it over you. For you will receive twice as much evil coming back. For all the good you did for him, for the Most High also hates sinners and will render punishment on the ungodly. Give to the good man, but do not help the sinner. A friend will not be revealed when you are prosperous, nor will an enemy hide himself when you are in adversity. When a man prospers, his enemies are grieved, but when he is in adversity, even a friend will separate himself. Never trust your enemy, for as copper becomes rusty, so is his evil. Even if he acts humble and goes about with a humble posture, watch yourself, and be on your guard. Then you shall be to him like him who wipes off a mirror, and you will know that it is not corroded continually. Do not let him stand by your side, lest he overthrow you and take your place. Do not seat him on your right, lest he seek your seat of honor. Then at last you will know the truth of my words, and because of my words you will be pierced with sorrow. Who will pity a snake charmer when he is bitten, or those who go near wild animals? So no one will pity one who approaches a sinful man and gets involved in his sins. He will stay with you for a while, but if you turn aside from him, he will not put up with you. An enemy speaks sweetly with his lips, but in his heart he will plan to throw you into a pit. An enemy will shed tears, but if he finds an opportunity, he will not be satisfied apart from shedding your blood. If evil comes upon you, you will find your enemy there ahead of you, and as he pretends to help you, he will pull your feet from under you. He will shake his head and applaud with his hands, and he will whisper many things and alter his expression. Wisdom of Sirach, chapter 13. Whoever touches pitch will be stained, and whoever associates with an arrogant man will become like him. Do not lift a weight too heavy for you, nor associate with a man stronger and richer than you. What does a clay pot have in common with a copper kettle? For the clay pot will strike against the kettle and will itself be broken. A rich man does wrong and even proves himself to be the one wronged. A poor man is wronged and he must apologize. If you can be useful to him, a rich man will make use of you. But if you are in need, he will abandon you. If you own anything, he will live with you, and he will exhaust you, but will not feel sorry for you. When he needs you, he will deceive you and smile at you, and he will give you hope and say good things to you. He will even say, "What do you need?" He will shame you with his foods until he exhausts you 2 or 3 times. Then at last he will mock you. If he should see you after this, he will forsake you and shake his head over you. Take heed, lest you be led astray and be humiliated for your folly. When a ruler invites you, be slow to accept, and he will invite you more often. Do not press upon him, lest you be rejected, but do not withdraw at a distance, lest you be forgotten. Do not intend to speak to him as an equal, and do not trust his abundance of words, for he will test you with a lot of talk, and while he is smiling, he will scrutinize you. He who does not guard your words is unmerciful, and he will not hesitate to harm or imprison you. Keep your words to yourself, and be very careful, for you are walking near your own fall. Every living creature loves its like, and every man his neighbor. All flesh gathers together by species, and every man clings to one like himself. What wolf will associate with a lamb? No more will the sinner with a godly man. What peace is there between a hyena and a dog? And what peace does a rich man have with a poor man? The prey of lions are wild asses in the wilderness. Similarly, the pastures of the rich are the poor. Lowness of stature is an abomination to the arrogant. Thus a poor man is an abomination to a rich man. When a rich man is shaken, he is strengthened by friends. But when a humble man falls, he is pushed away by friends. When a rich man falls, there are many to help him, and when he speaks abominable words, they justify him. If a humble man falls, they criticize him further, and when he speaks with intelligence, no place is given to him. When a rich man speaks, everyone is silent, and they exalt his words to the clouds. A poor man speaks, and they say, "Who is this man?" And if he stumbles, they push him down even further. Wealth in which there is no sin is good, but poverty is evil in the mouth of an ungodly man. The heart of a man changes the expression on his face, either for good or for evil. The mark of a heart filled with goodness is a cheerful face, but the invention of proverbs requires laborious reasoning. Wisdom of Sirach, chapter 14. Blessed is a man who does not slip and fall because of his mouth, and is not stung with pain caused by his sin. Blessed is he whose soul does not condemn him, and who has not fallen away from his hope. Wealth is not fitting for a small-minded man, and to what end is wealth for an envious man? For he who gathers for himself gathers for others, and others will live in luxury with his goods. If a man does evil to himself, for whom shall he do good? And he will not rejoice in his wealth. When a man envies himself, there is no one worse off, and this is the reward for his vice. Even if he does good, he does it unintentionally, and in the end he reveals his vice. He who envies with his eye is evil. He turns away his face and despises souls. The eye of a greedy man is not satisfied with his share, and useless wrongdoing dries up the soul. The evil eye of a man is envious over his bread. Thus it is lacking at his table. My son, whatever you have, treat yourself well, and offer sacrifices worthily to the Lord. Remember that death does not delay, and the covenant of Hades has not been shown to you. Before you die, do good to a friend, and reach out and give to him based on your ability. Do not let a day go by without doing something good, and do not let any of your desire for doing good escape you. Will you not leave all your hard work to another, and all your hard work to be divided by lot? Give and receive and deprive yourself, because in Hades there is nowhere to seek luxury. All flesh becomes old like a garment, for the covenant from of old is you shall die by death. Like flourishing leaves on a thick tree, which sheds some leaves and puts forth others, so also is the generation of flesh and blood. One dies and another is born. Every work of man decays and fails, and he who made it will depart with it. Blessed is the man who practices wisdom and discourses with insight. Whoever ponders the ways of wisdom in his heart will also reflect on her secrets. Pursue wisdom like a tracker, and lie in wait on her paths. He who looks intently through her windows will also listen at her doors. He who lodges near her house will also fasten his tent peg to her walls. He will establish his home according to her will, and so lodge in a good dwelling place. He will put his children in her shelter, and lodge under her branches. He will be sheltered by her from the burning heat, and will dwell in her glory. Wisdom of Sirach, chapter 15. He who fears the Lord will do this, and he who holds fast to the law will obtain wisdom. She will come to meet him like a mother, and accept him like the wife of one's youth. She will feed him the bread of understanding, and give him the water of wisdom to drink. He will be supported by her and not fall, and he will hold on to her and not be put to shame. She will exalt him alongside his neighbors, and in the midst of the assembly she will open his mouth. He will find gladness and a crown of rejoicing, and will inherit an everlasting name. But foolish men will not find her, and sinful men will not see her. She is far from the arrogant, and lying men will not keep her in mind. Praise is not proper in the mouth of a sinner, because it was not sent from the Lord. For praise should be spoken in wisdom, then the Lord will prosper it. Do not say, I fell away because of the Lord, for he will not do what he hates. Do not say, it was he who led me astray, for he has no need of sinful man. The Lord hates all abominations, and they are not loved by those who fear him. He himself created man in the beginning, and left him in the counsel of his will. If you will keep the commandments, and faithfully do his good pleasure. He has set before you fire and water. If you will, stretch forth your hand. Life and death are before mankind, and whichever he chooses, it will be given to him. For great is the wisdom of the Lord. He is mighty in power and sees all things. His eyes are upon those who fear him, and he himself knows every deed of man. He has commanded no one to be ungodly, and he has given no one license to sin. Wisdom of Sirach, chapter 16. Do not desire a multitude of useless children, nor rejoice in ungodly sons. If they multiply, do not rejoice over them, if the fear of the Lord is not in them. Do not trust in their life, nor pay attention to their multitude, for one godly child is better than 1,000, and it is better to die childless than to have ungodly children. For from one child with wisdom a city will be filled with people, but a tribe of lawless men will make it desolate. My eyes have seen many such things, and my ear has heard worse things than this. In the congregation of sinners a fire will be kindled, and in a disobedient nation wrath is kindled. There was no atonement for the ancient giants who turned away from God because of their strength. He did not spare the cities where Lot sojourned, whom he detested because of their arrogance. He had no mercy on a nation destined for destruction, who were taken away because of their sins. The same thing happened to the 600,000 foot soldiers, who gathered together in their hardness of heart. Even if there was only one stiff-necked man, it would be a marvel if he were to remain unpunished. For mercy and wrath belong to the Lord, and he is mighty to forgive, and he pours out wrath. As great as his mercy, so also great is his rebuke. And he will judge a man according to his works. A sinner will not escape with his spoils, and the patience of a godly man will not fare badly. He will make a place for every act of mercy. Each will find this out according to his works. Do not say, I will be hidden from the Lord, and who will remember me from on high? I will not be known among so many people, for what is my soul in comparison to the immeasurable creation? Behold, heaven and the highest heaven, the abyss and the earth will be shaken at his visitation. At the same time, the mountains and the foundations of the earth will shake with trembling when he looks upon them. No heart will be able to think about these things, and who will ponder his ways? There will be a sudden blast of wind which no man will see, for most of his works will be done in secret. Who will proclaim his works of righteousness, or who will endure them? For his covenant is far off. This is what a man thinks, who is diminished in heart and without discernment, who is deceived and thinks foolishly. Listen to me, my son, and gain knowledge, and pay close attention to my words in your heart. I will reveal instruction with balance, and will proclaim knowledge with exactness. By the judgment of the Lord, his works exist from the beginning, and from their creation he determined their boundaries. He ordered his works forever, and their principles according to their generations. They neither hunger nor grow weary, and they do not cease from their works. Each does not afflict the one close to him, and they will never disobey his word. After this the Lord looked upon the earth, and filled it with his good things. He covered its surface with the life of every living creature, and to it they will return again. Wisdom of Sirach, chapter 17. The Lord created man from the earth, and returned him to it again. He gave them a certain number of days and an appointed time, and he gave them authority over it. He clothed them in strength like his own, and made them in his image. He put the fear of man upon all flesh, and gave him dominion over wild animals and birds. He gave mankind the ability to deliberate, and a tongue, eyes, and ears, and a heart to think with. He filled them with the skill of comprehension, and showed them good and evil. He set his eye upon their hearts to show them the majesty of his works. They will praise his holy name so as to fully describe the majesty of his works. He added knowledge to them and gave them the law of life as a heritage. He established an eternal covenant with them. He showed them his judgments to their eyes saw his glorious majesty, and their ears heard his glorious voice. He said to them, "Beware of all unrighteousness," and he commanded each of them concerning his neighbor. Their ways are before him continually. They will not be hidden from his eyes. He appointed a ruler for every nation, but Israel is the Lord's portion. All his works are as the sun before him, and his eyes are continually on their ways. Their wrongdoings are not hidden from him, and all their sins are before the Lord. A man's almsgiving is like a seal with him, and he will treasure the kindness of a man like the pupil of his eye. After this, he will arise and repay them, and he will reward them with retribution on their head. But he provides a return to those who repent, and he comforts those who lack endurance. Turn to the Lord and forsake your sins, and pray in his presence and reduce your offense. Return to the Most High and turn away from wrongdoing, and hate an abomination exceedingly. Who will praise the Most High in Hades, as do the living, and those who give thanks? Thanksgiving ceases from a dead man, since he is no longer alive. Only the living and the healthy will praise the Lord. How great the mercy of the Lord is, and his atonement for those who turn to him. For all things are not possible for man, because a son of man is not immortal. What shines brighter than the sun? Yet this light fails, and so will flesh and blood when it lays evil to heart. He examines the host of the highest heaven, but all men are earth and ashes. Wisdom of Sirach, chapter 18. He who lives forever created everything. The Lord alone will be declared righteous. He permitted no one to proclaim his works. For who can trace out his mighty works? Who will measure his majestic power with a number? And who will add to this measure while describing his mercies? There is no one who can add or subtract, and there is no one who can search out the wonders of the Lord. When a man completes his search, then he starts over, and when he stops, he will still be perplexed. What is man, and what is his use? What is his good, and what is his evil? The number of a man's days is considered great if he is 100 years old, but like a drop of water from the sea and a grain of sand, so are a few years within a day of eternity. Therefore the Lord is patient with them, and he pours out his mercy upon them. He sees and knows their end, that it is evil. Therefore he makes full atonement for them. The mercy of a man is upon his neighbor, but the mercy of the Lord is upon all flesh, rebuking, training, and teaching them, like a shepherd who returns his flock to the fold. He has mercy on those who receive his discipline, and who are eager for his judgments. My son, do not bring disgrace on the good you have done, nor cause grief by your words when you make a gift. Does not dew give relief from the burning heat? In the same way, a word is better than a gift. Indeed, is not a word better than a fitting gift? And both are found in a gracious man. A fool will insult and disgrace someone, and the gift of an envious man makes his eyes waste away. Before you speak, learn, and before you get sick, take care of your health. Before you make a judgment, examine yourself closely, and in the hour of visitation you will find atonement. Before you become sick, humble yourself, and at the time of sinning, prove your conversion. Let nothing hinder you from paying a vow promptly, and do not wait until death to become righteous. Before you make a vow, prepare yourself, and do not become like a man who tempts the Lord. Remember his anger on the day of your death, at the time of vengeance, when he turns his face away. Remember the time of hunger and the time of plenty, and poverty and need in the days of wealth. From morning until evening time changes, and all things are soon in the presence of the Lord. A wise man will have the fear of God in everything he does, and in these days of sin he will guard against wrongdoing. Every intelligent man knows wisdom, and praises the one who finds her. The wise in words, they also make others wise, and they pour forth accurate proverbs. Do not walk after your own desires, but restrain your appetites. If you fill your soul with the desire for pleasure, it will make you the laughingstock of your enemies. Do not rejoice in great luxury, lest you become needy by its expense. Do not become a beggar by feasting on borrowed money when you have nothing in your purse. Wisdom of Sirach, chapter 19. A working man who is a drunk will not become wealthy, and he who despises small things will fail little by little. Wine and women will draw away intelligent men, and he who joins himself to prostitutes shall become very reckless. Decay and worms will inherit him, and his reckless soul will be carried away. He who trusts quickly is unwise in heart, and he who sins will err against his own soul. He who rejoices in evil shall be condemned, and he who hates talkativeness will sin less. Never repeat a word, and you will lose nothing at all. With a friend or enemy, do not report it, and unless it is a sin for you, do not reveal it. For someone heard you and watched you, and in time will hate you. Have you heard a word? Let it die with you. Take courage, it will not burst you, but a fool will suffer birth pangs because of such a word, like a woman in labor with a child, like an arrow stuck in the flesh of a thigh. So is a word inside a fool. Question a friend, perhaps he did not do it, and if he did something, perhaps he will not repeat it. Question a neighbor, perhaps he did not say it, and if he did say it, may he not say it twice. Question a friend, for often it is slander, so do not believe every word. A person slips, but it was not his intention, for who has not sinned with his tongue? Question your neighbor before you threaten him, and give place to the law of the Most High. All wisdom is the fear of the Lord, and in all wisdom there is the doing of the law. Wisdom is not the knowledge of evil, nor is there discernment in the counsel of sinners. There is a cleverness that is an abomination, and there is a fool who is lacking in wisdom. Better is a man who is afraid but lacks understanding than a man who abounds in discernment but transgresses the law. There is a precise cleverness which itself is unjust, and there is one who is offensive that justice may be revealed. There is an evildoer bowed down in mourning, but inwardly he is full of deceit. He covers his face and pretends to be deaf, but when no one notices, he will take advantage of you. If he is prevented from sinning because he lacks strength, when he later finds an opportunity, he will do evil. A man will be known by his appearance, and a man of intelligence will be known by his countenance when you meet him. The clothing of a man and the way he laughs and walks give indication of who he is. Wisdom of Sirach, chapter 20. There is a rebuke which is not timely, and there is he who is silent but has discernment. How much better is it to rebuke than to seethe with anger? He who confesses his fault will be kept from loss. Like the desire of a eunuch to violate a maiden, so is the man who executes justice by violence. There is a man who is silent but is found to be wise, and there is a man who is hateful because he talks too much. There is a man who is silent because he has no answer, and there is a man who is silent because he knows when to speak. A wise man will keep silent until it is the right time to speak, but an arrogant and undiscerning man will speak out of turn. The man who talks too much will be detested, and the man who stands on his rights will be hated. There is prosperity in the midst of adversaries, but there is also a sum realized by a sale for a loss. There is a gift that will not profit you, and there is a gift where the repayment is double. There is a loss because of glory, and there is a man who raises his head from a humble state. There is a man who buys much with little, but pays for it sevenfold. A wise man will make himself beloved through his words, but the kindnesses of fools will be forgotten. The gift of a senseless man will not benefit you, for his eyes are many instead of one. He will give little, but insult much, and he will open his mouth like a herald. Today he will lend, but tomorrow he will demand it back. Such a man is hateful. A fool will say, I have no friend, and I get no thanks for my good deeds. Those who eat my bread are worthless in their speech. How many will laugh scornfully at him, and how often? A slip on the ground is better than a slip of the tongue. Thus, the downfall of evil will come speedily. A man without grace is like a story told at the wrong time. It will continue on the lips of the ignorant. A parable from the lips of a fool will be rejected, but he does not tell it at its proper time. There is one who is hindered from sinning because of his poverty, so when he rests, he will not be pierced with sorrow. There is one who may lose his life through shame, or lose it because of his foolish countenance. There is one who makes a promise to a friend because of shame, and needlessly gains him as an enemy. A lie is an evil disgrace in a man. It will continue on the lips of the ignorant. A thief is preferable to a continual liar. Both, however, will inherit destruction. The character of a liar brings dishonor, and his shame is continually with him. A wise man will advance himself with his words, and a man with discernment will please great men. A man who works the earth will raise up his harvest, and he who pleases great men will atone for wrongdoing. Presents and gifts blind the eyes of the wise, and like a muzzle on the mouth they turn aside rebukes. Wisdom hidden and unseen treasure, what profit is there in either of them? Better is the man who hides his foolishness than a man who hides his wisdom. Wisdom of Sirach, chapter 21. My son, have you sinned? No longer add to them, but pray about your former sins. Flee from sin as you would from the presence of a snake, for if you approach it, it will bite you. Its teeth are like lion's teeth, destroying the souls of men. All lawlessness is like a two-edged sword, for there is no healing from its wound. Panic and violence will lay waste to wealth. Likewise, the house of an arrogant man will be laid waste. The prayer of a poor man goes from his mouth to God's ears, and his judgment comes speedily. Whoever hates rebuke walks in the steps of a sinner, but he who fears the Lord will return to him with his heart. A man powerful in speech is known from afar, but an intelligent man knows when he slips. He who builds his house with other people's money is like a man who gathers his stone in a storm. The assembly of the lawless is like a bundle of kindling, whose end is a flame of fire. The way of sinners is paved with stones, but at its end is the pit of Hades. He who keeps the law controls his thoughts. The end result of the fear of the Lord is wisdom. He who is not astute cannot be taught, but there is an astuteness that increases bitterness. The knowledge of a wise man is like a flood, and his counsel will flow abundantly as a fountain of life. The inner workings of a fool are like a broken vessel, for he will not hold on to any knowledge. If a man of understanding hears a wise word, he will praise it and add to it. But if a self-indulgent man hears it, it displeases him, and he turns his back on it. The explanation of a fool is like a burden on a journey, but grace will be on the lips of an intelligent man. The utterance of a sensible person will be sought in the assembly, and they will ponder his words in their heart. Like a house that has disappeared, so is wisdom to a fool, and the knowledge of a foolish man is words that will not stand up to examination. To a foolish man, instruction is like chains on the feet, and like handcuffs on the right hand. A fool raises his voice when he laughs, but an astute man will smile quietly with some hesitation. To a wise man, instruction is like a golden ornament, and like a bracelet on the right arm. The foot of a fool quickly enters a house, but a man with much experience will stand respectfully outside. A man without discernment peers into a house from the door, but a well-educated man will stand outside. A man shows his lack of education when he listens at the door, but a prudent man will be grieved by this disgrace. The lips of the unwise will describe things in detail, but the words of the prudent will balance the scale. The heart of fools is in their mouth, but the mouth of the wise is in their heart. When an ungodly man curses Satan, he curses his own soul. The whisperer defiles his own soul and will be hated in his own neighborhood.